Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about how to powder paint a jig. So the other day we talked about how to make a jig from scratch and how to do the skirt and everything. The only thing we didn't talk about was how to actually paint these bad boys. And I showed you the paint that I used. It's the Pro-Tec powder paint. Basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to heat your jig up and you basically just dip it in this and the heat will melt this powder paint onto your jig. But you don't want to have too much and you don't want to have too little. So it's kind of a fine line in there. I've done this a bunch of different ways. I've used just a little lighter. I've used this torch. What I started using now is I'll basically take my toaster oven, which is the same thing that I use for actually curing the paint. I'll just take my toaster oven and I'll actually stack a bunch of jig heads. I'll do a bunch at a time, but I'll stack a bunch on the grate of the toaster oven and leave them in there for 10 minutes or so, and they'll get up to temperature, and then I'll grab them one at a time and I'll pull them out and I'll basically dip them into the to the powder paint. So one thing to note is if you're planning on using a lighter or a torch, obviously you don't want to apply too much heat. If the jig head starts turning black, then obviously you know that you've applied too much heat and you need to let that cool off a little bit. And vice versa, if you leave the lighter or the torch on it for 5-10 seconds or whatever, and you dip it into the powder paint and none of it sticks to the actual jig head, then you need to heat that up a little bit more as well. But it depends on the jig head and the size of the jig head on how long to heat it, but usually give it about 5-10 seconds depending on how much heat you're applying, and try to dip it, and it should be a consistent paint on that jig head. One thing I like to do in order to kind of loosen up the powder paint is I'll kind of hit it a little bit, and then whenever I go to actually like turn it over, I'll go real slow, and then I'll open it up, and it should be nice and fluffy in there, ready for the first jig. We've had these jig heads in here for a little bit. They should be warm enough and ready to go. So I'll just go ahead and use the pliers because it's going to be really hot, and grab that first one out of there. And what you'll do is you'll just swish it in there, knock any excess off, and you can see it dries like in 2 to 4 seconds. It's done, dried, ready to go. Obviously you don't want to touch it against anything because it's wet paint, but the powder has basically turned into paint. So I'll grab this other one, dip it in real quick, knock any excess off, and I'll go right back to the rack, and then I'll start the curing process. So in order to cure them, what I'll do is I'll put the jig heads back on the rack in the toaster oven, and I'll turn the toaster oven to 350 degrees, and I'll leave them in there for 20 to 30 minutes. And that'll basically allow them to cure, and they'll be chip free, and you won't have your jigs chipping on every rock that you hit. So I think that's an important thing, because at the end of the day, I don't want a silver jig, I want a green pumpkin jig like I pulled out at the beginning of the day.